Good morning, class.
Good morning, madam.
Okay, I'm going to take a roll call to see if you are available in today's class. Masi Munyua, Sylvia Mukoya,
Present.
Meta Beliego,
Present.
Musa Habdi,
Present.
Otile Cruz. Okay, we see we are all in. Then I'll be taking you through cadastral surveying. And as a just review, what do you understand by the term cadastral? Is I know that at least you have come across the term cadastral. So what do you understand by the term cadastral? Yes, Mercy?
For me, I think cadastral survey is the kind of survey that is related to the land survey.
Yeah, that's great. Then I can just add to what you have said. It is the refers to the recording of mapping and land ownership in boundaries. And surveying itself, it's the art and science of determining positions and distance and angles between them. So I'm going to state the objectives, today's objectives. And as you see, it is the introduction to cadastral surveying. I'm your teacher, Miss Fiona. And Mercy, please, as I hope you are able to see my screen. Can you state for me the learning outcomes of our today's class?
Not seeing our screen.
Okay, please a minute I share.
Can't see the screen.
Let me share my screen. Hello. I hope you are able now to see my screen. Then anyone can state the learning outcomes of the today's class. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, state for me the learning outcomes, please. Any of my students?
First one, define the term cadastral surveying. Cadastral.
The next one, number 2.
State the purpose of cadastral surveying.
Number 3.
Number 3, explain the contrast between different types of property boundaries.
Okay. Now I'm redefining the term cadastral, which is it's an extensive survey relating to land boundaries and some divisions made to create units suitable for transfer or define the limitation of title. I know you are conversant with the term title deed, and in cadastral we'll be taking some boundaries, maybe either a fixed or a general boundary, and we do the procedure of generating a title. Then cadastre, it is an official register of the quantity, value, and ownership of real estate within the area administered by government units. Next is the types of cadastre. We have the juridical cadastre. This serves as a legal recognized record of land tenure. The fiscal, this was developed preliminary for the property valuation and used in some countries for the purpose of payment of tax. Then number 3, multi-purpose. Someone to read for me what it explains by the term multi-purpose cadastre. It encompasses both the fiscal and juridical cadastre with addition to other parcels related information. Then we are going to state the purpose and the scope of cadastral survey, whereby 1 is the delineation of property boundary and the compilation of data required for registration of title to a land. This one is limited to a given parcel. Then number 2, for registration of rights and interest in land other than the title or ownership. Number 4, it uses the physical planning, maybe a township planning or a country's planning. It uses the physical planning. Number 3, number 4, supposed land taxation. An example is a stamp duty or the rand rates. Then the next one, this one is a development plan. As you see in my slide, there is a picture of a development plan whereby it shows users allocated to all region or a country or a municipality or a district. This development plan, it aims in guiding planning of a smaller portion of a region or a municipality, such as individual ownership, and it assists in land to citizen for development. Then we go to the next slide. It is the part development plan. Part development plan, it is the development plan that covers only small portion or a region development plan. It's just like your areas where, obvious, we have seen even in I can use an example of a school or your area where you live. That's a part development plan. It is not a township or a municipality. Then now we see the boundaries. Someone to give me or explain for me what a boundary is. Anyone? Anyone, please? What is a boundary?
A boundary is a line.
It is a line feature or a lining determining the extent of a piece of land or a house. For example, it can be an area feature like a natural or man-made, in an imaginary line between two physical points. Then the types of boundaries, we have general boundary and fixed boundary, whereby in general boundary, there are boundaries which are not defined or surveyed. Then the properties are within the context of the Registered Land Act Cap 300 1963. For example, the land consolidation program, whereby it's bringing the small scattered bits of land together. Then we have the land adjudication. It is to sort out who owns what. This is done under the general boundary where one is given a title deed. Then we have the subdivision. It is of large company and cooperative farms. We have the mutation survey, use of less elaborate equipments, for example, GPS, GIS. And then we have the determination of boundary disputes and maintenance of boundary registered parcels. Then we go to fixed boundary. Boundaries have to be defined by bearings and distances, or boundaries are fixed by placing the corner boundary marks. For example, in when you use a total station. Then we go to the contrast between the general boundary and the fixed boundary, whereby in general boundary surveys are less accurate because you don't use the bearings and distance. Then in fixed boundary, surveyors are accurate because you are using the distance and bearings when taking their coordinates. Then survey is cheap in general boundary and quick only for provision of title. Then in fixed, surveys is low, expensive and time consuming. Then in general boundary, disputes are solved by land registrars, DEOs or elders. I know you are conversant with the term dispute. Then in fixed boundary, disputes are solved by the owners. Next, boundary is defined by physical feature in general boundary, like a fence, a tree, a stone. Then in fixed boundary, boundary is an imaginary line between the corner beacons. We always use the beacons that is permanent in the ground. Then before we go to the assignments, someone to review our today's lesson. What have you understood or what have you learned? Anyone, please?
We learned the meaning of cadastral
We learned the meaning of cadastral survey.
the purpose and the scope
We also learned about the purpose and the scope of cadastral survey.
Thank you. Then our today's assignment, it is like,
About cadastral survey.
yes,
Survey involves surveying the land.
okay, thank you. That's great. And I'm going to leave you with an assignment. Explain the purpose of land registration in Kenya. 10 marks, and we'll be collecting in our next lesson. Enjoy your day in a week.